Liberal hand-picked appointees of the Prime Minister from the chair on got themselves into a position to benefit their own companies.
Things are escalating here in Canada. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David, and today's top stories, we've got a grieving mother of two children she lost during the lockdowns. This is the same mother that confronted Jagmeet. She confronts Justin Trudeau. You can only imagine what his response is. We've also got things escalating with Palestinian protesters to a new level. We've got reports of the education system crumbling under the carbon tax. We've also got a possible election coming at Christmas time and a bunch of other stuff, so let's jump into this. First off, let's start with this. We've got a petition which has been raised by the Liberal Party to get direct flights from India to Winnipeg. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Next up, we got this one. Mississauga homeowners brace for a staggering $328,000 loss as the housing market continues to crumble. Canadians are getting absolute fleeced. They believed Justin Trudeau when he said the interest rate would stay low for a long time, and now they're getting absolutely worked in the market. As this shows here, they bought this whole house for $1.981 million, reduced it to $1.85 million, then $1.8 million. Eventually, the home sold for $1.65 million. Canadians are having generational wealth taken from them because of Justin Trudeau jacking the immigration and then things just crumbling. Now, was that a bad decision? Yeah. Should they have done that? No. They got the FOMO, they jumped in, now they're they're just losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. The flip side, people who are smart in these situations are making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Unfortunately, that ends up being a bunch of people like the Liberals, like Justin Trudeau, someone who, I should remind everyone, owns a real estate development company. We don't know the extent of his portfolio, how much he owns, what he owns. Next up, we got a couple of videos here of Justin Trudeau. As Ryan Garrettson says here quite well, can someone show me examples of other world leaders who do video montages of themselves and post them to their Instagram account? This guy uses our money to pay for a videographer and photographers to follow him around just for clips like this. What a narcissist. So that song's going to be copyright, but you can see, like, you always see his videographer following him frantically with a big steady cam. Trudeau is just such a arrogant, pompous narcissist. He has to have someone always following him and getting all the shots. Every single place he goes, there's his videographer with him. And I think, yeah, Ryan Garrettson's right here. What other leader does this? And Justin Trudeau just released this video with Macron himself. This is not someone else doing a montage. So I can't have that music in there either. But you can see, it's like, he's the one complaining this week about what was said in the House of Commons, and he's the one releasing this very bro kind of video. We'll just call it that. Anytime you see these two guys together, they're very handsy with each other. And this is when he chooses to release this. Enough said, enough said. As you can see here by all the photos that keep getting posted, you know, this isn't just some sort of conspiracy theory. I mean, the photos speak for themselves. I mean, what is this? This is fine if they want to be together, but for him to make the accusations in the House of Commons about, you know, what Garnet Jenius said, Tom Clark, the whole thing, and then you've got this kind of stuff. It's like, come on out, Justin Trudeau. Just come on out. It's time for you to announce it. We've got this clip here. It says, Trudeau ignores Canadians' pain. A mother who lost her two sons. Trudeau just smiles for the camera like she doesn't exist. My heart breaks for that woman. So if we go back, I don't know, maybe a week ago, this woman, I believe it was the same one, confronted Jagmeet. And Jagmeet just started like saying the worst things. He said, oh, I got to go pick up my daughter. Like, so insulting when a woman is telling you that she lost both her sons during the lockdowns because of the lockdowns. Well, now you get to see Justin Trudeau's response to this exact same, I believe it's the same woman. So there's Trudeau there. He's coming out.
Justin! Justin! You killed my two sons! Justin Trudeau, you killed my two sons with your lockdowns. Justin, my two sons are dead because of your lockdowns. You deprived my children of the necessities of life, and they're both dead because of you, Justin. Because of you. I have two granddaughters without a father. Because of you, Justin Trudeau.
She had a big billboard. When she was doing this with Jagmeet and had their faces on their names and the whole thing. It's really sad.
You killed my two sons, Kane and Jake Elslager. One of them died on January 1st, and 6 months later the other one died. And you told me you were into this with me together.
He puts his hand on his heart, and then he looks away. You know, if this guy had a heart, he would walk over there and have a conversation with her and show remorse to her face to face right in front of her. This guy doesn't care about anyone but himself.
I never saw you. The truckers were into this with me together. And when I came to Ottawa, you had us beat up. You had your goons steal the side of my 2 dead sons.
Look at this guy. He does another fake little heart thing, and then he has to wave to his fans over there. Oh, hey guys, how's it going? Don't mind the woman over there saying that I'm the cause of her dead kids.
You need to be charged with murder.
And he's gone.
I should have shown him the picture.
Wow, so he just storms back in there. He doesn't want to deal with it. He doesn't want to deal with what he's actually caused in this country. It's not just those two. There's plenty more. You know, I've got so many people who send me messages. It's almost too much to bear. There's just too many people that have been affected or lost because of what he has done. These choices he made, arrogant choices that were not thought out, or they were intentionally done with someone else's agenda in mind. He doesn't want to deal with it. He does not care about Canadians. He only cares about himself. He's heartless and soulless. I would have been shocked if he acknowledged her. That's him being himself right there. So I can't read this stuff on the screen there, but you can see, you know, this stuff that's here. Oh, and someone posted the photo. Thanks, Lynn, for posting this. This makes it easier for just everyone to understand. So here she was with Jagmeet, and Jagmeet's response was soulless. He said, oh, I can't be bothered with this. I got to go pick up my daughter. That's not exactly what he said. That's basically what he was saying. It's terrible. Like, it was just, he's like, where are you from? Oh, yeah, that's a conservative area. And just started blaming it like that. These politicians are absolute losers, soulless, heartless losers. Narcissists don't care. You're the gum on their shoe sole. You just go through the comments here. I mean, everyone's got it here. He doesn't care. This is exactly what he wanted to happen. Next up, we've got this. It says, people don't realize that Canada is about to witness the first election in post-war Western liberal democracy in which young people vote in mass to the right of old people. This is absolutely unprecedented. Can't imagine a more damning indictment of a country's elites. So we've got this here, 13 to 34 years old. And well, yeah, there's going to be a big conservative push from the young people because they're screwed. If you're young and you're in this age bracket, you are more than likely screwed unless you're getting $1 million house passed down by a parent. Trudeau has sold your future to make himself and all his cronies rich. Next up, I want to show a handful of Palestinian protester clips. Justin Trudeau had a fundraiser. It was like $1,500 or $2,000 a plate. And the protesters, you can see, were outside there welcoming people. Here they are driving in. Yeah, we can't have the audio, but you know there's a lot of noise going on there. Just a lot of craziness. So yeah, that just more of this. You guys have seen it. Justin Trudeau's ego here said it best. Watch as my 27 vehicle motorcade narrowly makes it in while hundreds of police officers hold back the angry mob. So I've got a couple other clips here I want to show you too. So we've got a couple of these guys with this flag. They are up at a statue here. This is a statue of Maharaja Ranjit Singh was disrespected last night in Mississauga during a pro-Palestine protest. Statues and monuments need to be left alone. I don't know why these protesters feel like they're entitled to deface every historic thing we have in Canada. That's what they seem to do. They did it all in the universities by spray painting them, destroying things. The cops need to step in. Enough is enough. We've got this one here where another protest. This is happening outside the houses of Jewish people. Like, when is this going to end? You can't. This is so against the law. This is a residential neighborhood in Ottawa where Jewish people live, and there's literally people in their front yards. They're outside a Jewish school and outside these people's front yards. So we've got another one here. I mean, there's so many of these clips. I could quite literally fill a 30-minute video with just these clips, but that's where we're going to leave that. Next up, we got the Bloc trying to stick the boots to Trudeau and force him to get more for Quebec. This will potentially force an election in fall time around Christmas. We'll see.
Correspondent Vashi Capellos joins us now. Vashi, the Bloc's deadline, as we mentioned, is October 29th. And we know the minimum length of a federal election campaign has to be 36 days. So how likely is an election before Christmas?
Hi, Omar. Yeah, Rachel hit the nail on the head there. The Prime Minister's hold on power is more precarious today than it was yesterday. I've been speaking to someone very high up in the chain of command for the Bloc Québécois to try and ascertain how serious are they about this ultimatum. And I've got to say, they are incredibly serious. They feel emboldened by what happened in Montreal, the win in the by-election there. They feel like they would actually be able at this juncture, forget about a couple months from now, up their seat count in Quebec, even talk of forming the official opposition. So I don't think there's going to be any hesitancy, to go forward if these demands are not met on the Bloc's part. At the same time, I've been talking to Liberals who seem unsure of whether they are willing to meet the Bloc's demands, particularly on old age security. They don't feel that there is a policy imperative to meet that demand. It's going to cost them a pretty penny. A lot of hesitance there, too. So I'd say overall, way more likely today than it was yesterday that we hit an election before the end of the year. Not for sure, but more likely.
The Bloc is a joke party. They only care about one province. That should be against the law in this country. Every party in Canada should be for the benefit of all Canadians. Why do we even have the Bloc? But regardless, they do look like they're positioned to take the second spot, the official opposition, because Jagmeet is an absolute fool and Trudeau has run his party into the ground. What you're left with is the Bloc. The NDP don't have the funds for election and will hold him up and try to gain back some of their membership too. I agree with Rita here. I think that's what the NDP will do. So it doesn't matter if the Bloc doesn't vote with Trudeau. Jagmeet will. Jagmeet will until at least February where he gets that pension. It's about $30,000 a year he'll get in perpetuity for doing nothing. I saw one news report saying he doesn't care about the pension. Come on, he cares about it. It's money. He's a greedy fool. Doesn't matter if Jagmeet's already rich. 30 grand more is 30 grand more. Next up, we've got this comment here by John Rustad, conservative BC leader. We've got an election here in less than a month. I'm really happy with what he says here based on talking about the laws of pew-pews.
Regarding your party's position on federal gun laws, you said at a meet and greet in Fort St. John on August 12th, quote, "You will instruct police not to enforce those laws," end quote. I would assume you were talking about Bill C-21, but can you just elaborate on what you meant and where your party stands when it comes to federal gun laws?
So I think the gun laws that have been brought in by the federal government looking to take away and to seize guns from law-abiding citizens in British Columbia, I think is the wrong approach, especially when you're out in rural BC and with people that are there. So from my perspective, I think that's an overreach by government, and so I will not have any provincial resources being spent on their initiative. If they want to go ahead, fill their boots, but that's not something that, from a province's perspective, we would spend any resources doing.
Completely agree with Rustad here. This is just dumb. I mean, you've got people living in rural BC. They need to have their pew-pews to protect themselves against grizzly bears, polar bears, all sorts of big animals, let alone if they're just out there, if they're a hunter, they're a law-abiding hunter. Justin Trudeau knew he'd be pissing off the nation. That's why he put this in, because he wanted to take away people's ability to defend themselves or somehow combat all the crap he's doing in our country. So far, he's wasted over $60 million on this program. They haven't collected any pew-pews. He's just wasting more of our money as usual. So I like that Rustad's on board here, not supporting any Trudeau's stupidity. Next up, we've got Conservative MP Kelly Block. It says here, Saskatchewan education system pays over $200 million in carbon tax annually. $200 million. This takes away from students, teachers, and research. Instead, this money goes towards funding Trudeau's radical agenda. So this is what Pierre Poilievre was pointing out last week in the House of Commons. He mentioned it with not only schools, but with hospitals paying carbon tax. We get worse care. We have worse schooling. This is destroying our country.
Recent reports show that the Saskatchewan education system is paying over $200 million in carbon tax annually. Isn't that money that could be invested in student education and research, like the research that you do?
Funds could be allocated in a number of ways, yes. Those are public funds. It's politicians who decide how to allocate them.
Yes, in 2021, the University of Saskatchewan paid $3.7 million in carbon tax. Prior to raises in the carbon tax, this will rise to $12.1 million by 2030. And according to the 2022-23 operating budget of the University of Saskatchewan, operating revenue cleared operating costs by $17 million. With such close margins, does the ever-increasing carbon tax not threaten the existence of public institutions, such as the University of Saskatchewan, and the research that you yourself are conducting?
Different. I don't have an answer for you. I can't tell you whether there is a direct causal link between carbon tax and research funding.
But surely when a government is paying that amount of money in a carbon tax, or a province is paying that amount of money to the federal government in a carbon tax, that is money that is not going to fund programs within their own province.
Yeah, no kidding. Just think about this too. If you have $200 million going to the government, that money isn't going to paying teachers more. Think of this as if this is in Quebec or in BC. Now you have those teachers not getting a carbon tax rebate and not getting raises at work. I'm predicting it right now. If Trudeau stays in power, you're going to see Quebec and BC are going to be the first two provinces to fall. You're going to see absolute businesses collapse, the hospitals, the schooling system. Everything's going to collapse because there's too many taxes on Canadians and no one can afford to live. These two provinces will crumble first. There's no rebates, there's no reprieve, and everywhere else will follow afterwards. We want election now. If you invest in decarbonizing the school system, then they'll pay less carbon tax. You know how the carbon tax is supposed to work. What are they supposed to do? Rebuild the school so it only uses solar power and wind power? This is not feasible. There's a lot of schools that are underfunded. And this person said solar on every school roof. Yeah, I mean, that's easy to say. That costs money. Carbon tax has nothing to do with environment. It's a huge scam. It is. I already pointed out the other video, if we wanted to be carbon neutral, all we'd have to do is produce enough LNG to reduce 11.2% of China's dependency on coal, and we would be carbon neutral. No carbon tax, don't need it. The Liberals don't care, otherwise they would do that. Next up, we got this. It says, got my first propane fill at the new house, $778 plus $160 in carbon tax, and HST for another $123, almost $300 in tax for home heating, or 36%. Don't tell me about getting more back than I pay, please. Yeah, there's no way. This is for 1 month. There's no way he's getting more back than he pays. So there you have it. You know, carbon tax, $160. Trudeau's just going to funnel that right into his probably eco-green slush fund, one of those fraudulent funds, send it to his buddies, McKinsey or any other consultants where he funnels all our cash to. And speaking of the slush fund, we got this posted by conservative Rick Perkins. Government was ordered months ago by the House of Commons to turn over the SDTC slush fund, the eco-green slush fund, documents to be given over to the RCMP. They continue to buck and block this order. AG looked at the sampling of STDC funding and found 82% marred in conflict of interest. That's $330 million of that $832 million slush fund.
We have a foundation that was set up in 2001 called Sustainable Development Technology Canada with the purpose of providing taxpayer financial assistance to green technology companies before they're commercialized. Since this government has been elected, they've received $1 billion of taxpayer money. And the result of that, and probing by parliamentary committees, is that we found that in 82% of the funding transactions approved by the Board of Directors during a sample period, a 5-year period that the Auditor General looked at, 82% of those transactions were conflicted. So that's a number. What does that mean? According to the Auditor General, that's $330 million of taxpayer money that was given to companies where the board members who voted to give it to that company, those companies, had a conflict of interest. In addition, the Auditor General found that that same board approved another $59 million of projects that they weren't authorized to do. They were outside of the mandate of the foundation that the government and parliament set up. They broke the SDTC contribution agreements, and these directors broke the conflict of interest laws of Canada as public office holders, and they broke the SDTC Act. So how did they break them? What does that act say? Those two acts say. You know what they say? They say that a governor and council appointment, a person appointed by the government, entrusted to oversee taxpayer money, is not to personally profit from their work on that committee as a GIC appointment, and neither is their family. Yet that's exactly what happened. These Liberal hand-picked appointees of the Prime Minister from the chair on got themselves into a position to benefit their own companies.
I'm not surprised. This is all we see from Justin Trudeau and the Liberals. Just lie, cheat, and steal. Always stealing our money. When are the RCP and the Canadian Armed Forces going to clean out this nest of vipers? Yeah, good question. Next up, we have...
Never fear, the Queen of the North is here. That's me.
Okay. Next up, we've got a video here, an update from Coquitlam, British Columbia. I used to live over here just 8 years ago. So this kind of hits a little bit home for me, just seeing this. These are tent cities. There was not one tent city in Coquitlam. It was clean. It was a nice place. You could not find one tent. You couldn't find a homeless person anywhere 8 years ago. I don't know. This music's probably got to get shut off here because of copyright, but I mean, this is unreal. Coquitlam was like the cleanest part of like the whole greater Vancouver. It's person after person after person here, all lined up on the side of the street. One man, Justin Trudeau, has completely obliterated our country. It's unbelievable how far Canada has fallen.
He proposes to quadruple the carbon tax to 61 cents a litre on seniors, small businesses, and single moms. The Prime Minister spent his summer in a frenzy of high carbon, high taxing, high flying hypocrisy. Newly released data show that he went 92,000 kilometers. In flights on average every 2 days, he went 300,000 liters of jet fuel. Why is it that he punishes working class Canadians with his quadrupling carbon tax when he flies around burning more and more jet fuel?
Next up, we got this rant from the Montreal man. He is just saying it straight about Justin Trudeau and the Liberal Party.
Look at what the Liberals are turning our country into. I just went to Indigo in downtown Montreal. They had to close their business because protesters are standing around outside. And now look at this in downtown Montreal. What country are we in? Are we in Canada or are we in the Middle East?
So Indigo is owned by a Jewish man. That's why they're protesting it.
Are we in Canada right now or are we in the Middle East? And look at this. Indigo had to be shut down. They need a heavy police protest. Where are we? Where is our government? This is an absolute disgrace. The Liberal government is an absolute joke. Look at this crap. What country are we in? This is a joke. Look.
I think it's how a lot of Canadians are feeling. It's like we pay all the taxes, but our voices aren't heard. And all our money is going to people who quite literally came to Canada yesterday and the day before at a tune of $20, $30, $40, $50, $60, $70,000 per year, while tax-paying Canadians are suffering and struggling and living in tents in the streets now. Jumping over to my group, let's see what memes we've got today. How to be a good climate activist. Own a private jet, own a yacht, own 5 mansions, lecture poor people on how selfish they are, give yourself an award. Wednesday, is that you? Next up, we got this as 2 more instances of foreign interference disclosed. I just took a quick look at the video. They don't say a lot. They say for national security reasons. We just don't get to know anything in this country. It's ridiculous. If Trudeau wants to hold the country hostage with all his coalitions, the people should unite in a stay-at-home strike and halt the economy altogether. Ooh. I think a lot of people would like to do this, but we just can't. Like, everyone has to keep working to pay the bills. Trudeau delivers $5 billion to non-Canadian causes at UN Assembly Conference. Of course he does. Stephen Guilbeault mentioned that the winds in Jasper on the days when the fires were burning were over 100 kilometers per hour. Liar. If we look here... the Canadian dream. No kidding. I've seen a couple of these. There's like one just down the street here. People are building full-blown houses on the backs of their trucks and stuff because that's all they can afford to live in now. Survival tip. If lost in the woods, build a shelter. The tax collector will be there shortly. Great minds think alike. Unfortunately, so do stupid ones. Lithium battery storage fire near Port of Montreal. Let me guess, Trudeau's going to come out and say it's climate change. Climate change, guys, did. It's complicated, is it? I don't know who needs to hear this, but any government that puts its own citizens last and foreigners first is no longer your government, plain and simple. That is what we're seeing in our country right now. It is disgraceful. There's a lot going on here in Canada, but really nothing is changing. We've got Jagmeet ripping up his coalition agreement. Doesn't seem to matter. He's still just supporting Trudeau just as much. I'm not really surprised that Trudeau's response is not really different than Jagmeet's when confronted by a woman who lost both her kids due to the lockdowns that they forced on us. The question is now, do you think with the Bloc's pressure coming to the end of October with their demands, do you think that will really trigger an election? Will Jagmeet flip the script with the Bloc and vote with Pierre Poilievre? I don't think so.